A true and faithful relation of what passed for many years between Dr. John D. and some spirits, according to Meric Casaubon. We are in Memorandum 1586, May 1st. On May Day, after dinner, I went over the water, being brought to the waterside in the Lord Rosenberg, his coach, and Jacobus Menschik with me unto the Lord Rosenberg, his gardens, and lodging by the waterside, whether he came to me by appointment, to whom, when I had read in lodging by the waterside, whether he came to me by appointment, to whom, when I had read in Latin, extempore, the things that concerned him, I asked him what he had done since the time of my being with him, that I may the better understand these words spoken to him and of him. He told that he had often prayed since unto God for forgiveness of his sins, and to open his eyes how he might serve him, and to make it to be evident unto him whether he is to marry or no, and where or in what stock or kindred, and if it were his divine will that he might receive comfort and instruction by me, and that these and such matters, and somewhat earnestly, he had prayed also for his Mr. the Emperor, that he might bend himself to enjoy God his favor, yea, for his own marriage and amending of his loose life, while he was yet sat at dinner this day at the Archbishop's table, his heart and thought to come very much upon it, and so on. All these words I rejoiced much to perceive the doing of the highest, in the hearing of his prayer faithfully prayed, and that the answer which I read unto him was so fitly applied unto his prayer, as he also himself did perceive with great comfort and spiritual joy. He entreated much that I would pray to God that the emperor might be restored to the favor of God, as he was when I declared my message unto him from the highest. I answered, that whatsoever the God of heaven and earth should appoint me to say or do unto his majesty, I most willingly rejoice in the faithful doing of it, and that it was my duty as a Christian to pray for his majesty, but I should not make any promise of my prayer to be heard, but would highly rejoice if his imperial majesty would so use himself in God his judgment as might be meritorious in the sight of our Redeemer. Such words and matters as this passed between us, and he said that he would in all points fulfill the advice and warning of God in this action expressed, and would marry a maiden as he was willed, and this day did acknowledge and account himself a happy man. And as concerning our mutual bond, by the means of each being given to the other by God of heaven and earth, he vowed and promised that he would regard it in all points to the best of his skill and power, and so on. These and other such good seeds for the service of God being sown between us, he went towards his palace in the court, and I to the waterside, and so over to the coach awaiting for me, and so came home, God be praised. And in the margin, votum eo promissum Wilhelme Ursine Vic Regis Bohemia. Memorandum the Lord Rosenberg sent to Mr. Jacob Mensch with this letter unto me. Magnifico Domino Joanna D. ad manus proprias magnifique domin pater observanda eo charisma. Latanus sum in his qua mehe dexistis cognave enim quoniam exaudivit deprecationem meam peas pater eo misericors dominus etac maximo pere desiderave ut quam sapissim ea mehe leget perleger eo semper ab oculos haber possum per amorem die oro ut saltem eorum qua mehe pericata eo adme pertinent verborum mehe transmittas descriptionem non tantum mehe multura gratificabitut, sed eo consolabor plurineum obsecro praeterea dominum vestrum assidu pro me orer velet ut confirmit hoc Dios quod apparatus est in nobis eo derogat omnio consilia opera actionis emo eo cogitationes nostras ad laudem eo gloriam sanctissime nostris sue commandum multorum eo anima nostra salutem nec desinat pro amor suo paterno qua me ute spero dominatio vestra prosquiter me semper in omnibus qua pro honor thy eo commodo vestro a me fiere eo debent eo passunt admonere eo significar rem summa per mehe gratem eo expectatione mea dignam eo consentaneam faciat et cum his me commendo suis pracebus eo orationibus nec non paterno suo amore eo corde optime valeat magnifica dominatio vestra dominica cantet anno 1586 filius eo amicus vester ex animo Wilhelmus or manu propria. And we have roga ut melius intelligat dominatio vestra ioc scripta sunt eo considerat plus mentem meam quam verba quia mehe in usa non fuit a multis annis lingua latina eo nemine in hac se consider follow. Note, I had translated this Sunday morning, so the 4th of May, the same parcel of the former action into Latin. for the Lord Rosenberg, which he had then sent for, jump at the time when I had finished it, and so I sent it to him, enclosed in a letter, May 6th being Tuesday, and entered my journey toward Valkanam Glasshouse and Leipzig Mare. There are diverse Loknaus, one by Egger or Olbogen, not far from Carlsbad, westward from Prague, about 18 Benish miles, and other in Behem, about 11 or 12 miles from Prague, northerly, a mile from Krebitz, and 2 miles from Leip, and a mile from Kamnitz. And let's get into some of the okay, the letter from William Rosenberg to D. You know, he's honoring D by putting it in his own writing, and seeing that he's a reverend. And so Rosenberg has rejoiced in what D has conveyed to him, and he's asking through the love of God, you know, if there's anything that concerns him, and imploring his mastership in this matter, that he'll pray for him. And the vow and the promise, it's about the salvation of their souls, and, you know, the purpose of D is to demonstrate in these things and bring forth things that are to be pleasing, and appreciates the skill of prayer and such that he has, and his father's love and heart, asking, you know, that it's understood that these things be written and consider more intentions in the words, you know, because D wrote back here, May 11th. I came to Leipzig on Sunday the 11th of May and was at Pater Hans Schwartz, his house lodge. I found Lawrence Overton with much ado, an English merchant to whom my wife the last year had showed no little friendship to himself, and Thomas, his partner's servant, in the time of his lying sick in her house, and so on at Prague. He came from England to Midland, and he confessed that Edmund, my servant, had been oftentimes with him in his house, and that he did think that he would come with the next ships after his coming from England, than to come within 16 days. I perceived by his diverse expressed sayings that he was but a hollow friend to me, and seemed half afraid to deal either with me or my man. There I also found a courteous gentleman called Mr. Francis Evers, Lord Evers, his son in the north, and of all the other matters omitting the rehearsal in these records, these matters, I mean, which at Leipzig and his journey happened notably to me, are to myself one letter, to which I wrote the Queen of England, his secretary, the Right Honourable Sir Francis Walsingham, as follows, and write, and we're going to get into that, happened notably, Francis Walsingham,